be showing you how to do a purl stitch. Now, purl stitch, unlike the knit stitch, they don't really use it on its own. It's like the best accompaniment to the knit stitch. A lot of patterns use purl and plain together, and this gives you an awful lot to work with. So we'll get started. Okay, here we go. So this is going to be adding your purl stitch. So I've already cast on, for the sake of our practice piece, 20 stitches, and I've nearly finished the first row, which is knit stitches. So let's remind you of that. So you're taking the needle down through the loop, yarn underneath and round, between, up and off. So underneath, round, between, up and off. This is your knit stitch. This is the stitch that you've been practicing. There we go. So that's first row is the knit stitch. Let's swap them over. Now, the purl stitch is not that different, but it starts off a bit different. So, get your tension, wrap around your ring finger. You're going to manipulate with this one. But this time, to start off, your needle comes underneath. Okay, so we're here, needle comes underneath. And you're going to go into the loop from the back to the front. Okay, now at this point, it's the same. Round the needle, and you're going to bring that wool so that you can take the loop off backwards. Okay, so we do that again. Your wool is on top of the needle. We're going to take the needle from underneath, come through the loop, push it up, yarn around and underneath the working needle. It's going to go underneath again and out through the back, and the stitch comes off. We do that again. It comes from underneath through the loop. It comes towards you. Take the yarn around as you do before. This time the needle is going to go back through the loop to the underneath, and you take your other stitch off. Okay, so from underneath, up through the loop, towards you, around the needle with your wool as you did before. The needle is going to go back down through the loop, giving you a new stitch, and you take the old stitch off. This tail's getting in the way. Let me hold it. There we go. So come from underneath, up through the needle, around with the wool, needle goes back through the loop, and the old comes off. Okay, up, wool as before, round the needle, needle goes back through the loop, and the old stitch comes off. Okay, so we're going to carry on all the way until we get to the end of the 20. Remember, from the back up towards you, needle goes back out through the back of the loop. So up, back out through the back. There we are. So wrap that knit. Now that little tail of wool is getting on my nerves now. There we go. Up through, wool around, back down and out the back of the loop. Old loop comes off. Just as before, we're transferring the stitches onto the other needle. There we go. And you can see now that it is slightly different, but not too different that it's going to confuse you that much. There we go. Getting to the last two. Remember, it's up from the back, wool around as before, needle back out through the bottom of the loop. There we go. There's the last one. Round as before, back out. Now, we've done a whole row of purl stitching on top the first row was knit stitch. Now, let's see if I can get that closer to you, if you can see. You can see how that's flat now. Whereas before, the other example, it's all bumpy. Okay? So your flat one is because you have a row of knit and a row of purl. And that's how it comes together, and it's the best accompaniment for the knit stitch. Right, well, I'm going to do that a little bit more now, and I'll come back to you with more to show. So, keep practicing, row of knit, and then your second row is a row of purl. I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so hopefully you can see now the difference. So this is the reverse side, this is the purl side, and if I turn it round, you can see that this is the knit sides, which is the flat part. Now, together, purl one row, knit the other row, is known as stocking stitch. There we go. So let's remind ourselves how to do it. We're going to do another row of the purl stitch. So always have your tension around your ring finger, manipulate with the index finger. Remember, the needle comes from underneath, up and through the loop. The wool goes round, and you're taking that needle out the back of the stitch this time. So here we go, we slow it down. Needle comes around, needle then goes underneath and through the stitch so that the old stitch comes off. So up, through, wool around, needle back through, and the old stitch comes off. Okay. And this stocking stitch is used in most patterns because it gives you that nice flat one side, the right side usually, but in some patterns I've seen they use the reverse side, so it really doesn't matter. I suppose patterns, a bit like cooking recipes, they're suggestions on how you can do things. There we are. So remember, we're bringing the needle up through from the back to the front, wool around the needle, and now you're going to take that needle back through the loop underneath, and the old one comes off. There we are. Okay, so let's turn that round, and you can see once more, this is what's known as the right side of the work, and this side is what's known as the reverse. Okay, so I'll let you get on and practice that, and next time I shall show you more ways to put the knit stitch and the purl stitch together to give you a rib. Now, a rib is generally the bottom of a sweater or the cuff of the sleeve of the sweater, and it can be used in many different ways, and there are many different decorative ways to use a rib as well. But we're going to stay simple and we're going to keep it basic because we're not going to run before we can walk. Happy practice, and I'll get back to you next time. Bye-bye. Right, so now you've got your purl stitch to go along with your knit stitch, which gives you stocking stitch too. And I hope you're going to really enjoy getting a lot of practice in with that. It can be a little bit fiddly, but you'll get there. And all I'm going to ask you to do before you take off and have a good practice with your needles is to like, share and subscribe for this video. Thank you very much, and I shall see you soon with the rib stitch. Bye.